Pokemon Day is just a few weeks away, and with that, we expect a big Pokemon announcement. But is it DLC, or Generation 9, or maybe even both? Let's dive in. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys a brand new video today, and today we're going to be diving into the world of Pokemon Legends Arceus, as well as Pokemon Day, which is coming up in just a few weeks at the tail end of February, and we are most certainly getting some sort of crazy earth-shattering Pokemon announcement. At least we expect to be. So we're going to break down kind of everything going on in the Pokemon world after Legends Arceus is released and kind of what we can expect heading into the summer and the later months of 2022. Be sure to hit that like button down below if you guys enjoy these types of videos, and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we are closing in on 1 million aDrive Army members. So thank you guys for that. Now without further ado, let's kind of dive into things and break down what's going on in the Pokemon world. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Riddler Coup, who is a privated Twitter account that has seemingly leaked and kind of riddled a ton of information regarding BDSP and Pokemon Legends Arceus. And I think if you followed the channel over the last few months, we've seen so many things come true, from legendary Pokemon to riddles about Alolan Pokemon being in Arceus like Vulpix, to the Shiny Ponyta quest, to evolutions of existing Pokemon, and much, much more. I think at this point, I don't think there's any reason to doubt the Riddler, right? Like, the Riddler has been very much so accurate and clearly has some sort of insider source. So we're gonna kind of look at some of the things that they've been saying and kind of deduce whether or not we're gonna get that DLC or whether we're gonna get Gen 9 or whatever it may be. So when we kind of dive back a little bit, we actually go back to mid-January, where the Riddler says, now that I've pretty much given you a breakdown of all my riddles, there's only a few left, I'll bring more picks and so on and so forth. So stay tuned for my next season Riddle Carnival show. Kind of saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep bringing the hype. I'm gonna keep bringing these riddles, and I'm gonna keep teasing people over the next few months for whatever comes next in the Pokemon world. He then goes on to talk about April, and April's been kind of a resounding month for these riddlers, these insiders, these leakers, talking about something big for Pokemon is coming in April. But Pokemon Day is at the end of February, so how does this all line up? Well, there's supposed to be this, and I find this very interesting, by the way. There's an official Pokemon Legends Arceus guidebook coming out on April 16th. They give you 50, I believe, nuggets in-game with this guidebook that teaches you all the elements you need to capture things and so on and so forth. But why is the official guidebook for Legends Arceus coming out in April? It feels so weird to me that they're going to release this guidebook all the way in April. Well, the Riddler obviously makes a joke about it and says April with a laughing face. And again, he's been pointing towards April as being an important time period for the Pokemon franchise. He then goes on to say, my only hint for April, feel for it. And it's a picture of Looker and a picture of Palmer. Now this is very, very interesting. And then he goes on to say, they're meant to be something, but not what you look at directly. When you know what's coming in April, everything will make sense. So what's actually coming in April, and how does that tie into Looker and Palmer? So my team sat down and we actually made a joke about Pokemon Sight and Touch being the Generation 9 games, because Looker is about seeing and looking, and Palmer is the palm of your hand touch. I think that's a massive stretch, but I think it's hilarious at the same time. So we'll have to see what happens with this. But if you guys have any ideas what this riddle could be for Looker and Palmer, and how that could relate to either Arceus or Generation 9, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. But certainly an intriguing kind of scenario that we have here, as again, we don't know whether this is for DLC or whether it's for Gen 9, but the Riddler is saying, again, something is happening in April. Here's my only hint for it. Looker and Palmer. Interesting. Then goes on to say, and on the 27th, DLC soon, and kind of makes some jabs at Centro Leaks, but shows his save file and says the DLC is coming soon. So now the Riddler's saying there's gonna be DLC. Is it the DLC that's coming in April? Is it a Gen 9 announcement that's coming in April? It's very, very up in the air. And then further, the Riddler yesterday says, I saw tons of speculation about a free DLC. Anyway, a game lacking online battle features will flop soon after you finish shiny hunting all you want, or you could wait a couple weeks for that free thing and can't help but complaining. So this is a little weird as to what he's trying to say, but I think the gist here is that there's not going to be a free DLC, but I don't think anyone was expecting a free DLC. So again, we've kind of gone around the ringer with the Riddler here to figure out what's going on. So let me give you my take and my thoughts. At this point, from what we've seen from the Riddler, I think that Pokemon Day is going to announce a DLC for Legends Arceus. And you might say, well, what would that DLC be? I think there's a lot of potential for them to add new Pokemon to the game. Maybe some new forms, maybe some new Pokemon we've never seen before, much like the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra did. But when we look at the Pokemon lore, there is a location called the Sinjoh Ruins. And the Sinjoh Ruins is a place that is accessed through a event distribution that was located in Johto, but it wasn't actually located in Johto, and it's kind of in a mysterious location. So I think it's possible that we actually visit the Sinjoh Ruins. And when you look at the Hisui map, there's a few locations where there's clouds that are blocking the map, and they don't go away at any point. So that could be a sign of DLC, as we know Pokemon has kind of done that in the past. So the Riddler has said there's going to be DLC. There's the option of the Sinjoh Ruins, or maybe some sort of new location that we could explore. I could see them doing a more battle-focused DLC for Arceus, or they could expand upon the story. I've also read some cool things about how maybe new people will settle in Hisui now that we've kind of figured out the Pokedex and we've kind of beaten the game or whatever else, and it's a little bit safer for people to move in. So there could be that aspect as well. So we'll have to wait and see kind of what's going on with the DLC aspect. But at this point, the Riddler has said in their posts there is going to be DLC soon. So I gotta believe it, right? Like, if the Riddler says there's DLC soon, I gotta believe there's DLC soon. But then what's April? Is April when the DLC comes out? It seems weird to me, right? There's a lot of kind of confusing situations going on here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Generation 9 and DLC, I guess, in the same conversation. So Matt Yukana, who's a data miner, mentions in Legends personal data, every species has a count value indicating how many alternative forms it has. Species with Mega Evolution still consider Mega forms in their count and have entries associated with these forms. These values were scrubbed in Sword and Shield, and now they're re-added. In addition to this, cries for Pokemon with Mega Evolution do exist in the game sound data, but they're not used at any point during stronger agile style moves. I think it's peculiar that they got rid of these in Sword and Shield, but then added them in Legends, saying, hey, listen, this doesn't mean that there's going to be DLC, this doesn't mean that there's going to be Megas in Arceus, but it's interesting and it could be speculatory for future games. So why would Pokemon remove Mega Evolution information in the game files, which they often leave stuff in, for Sword and Shield, but then re-add it for Legends Arceus? Very peculiar that we see this information regarding Mega Evolution. Could that be regarding a DLC? Are we going to get a Mega Evolution based DLC? Or are we going to get Mega Evolution returning in Generation 9? Now, I've talked extensively on this channel about Generation 9 and what I think, and when you look at kind of the framework and the groundwork of what has been laid for the Pokemon franchise, it is not uncommon for us to get a new generation every 3 years. The gap between Black and White to X and Y to Sun and Moon to Sword and Shield, and now Sword and Shield to whatever this next game is, has been 3 years. It's been a 3-year gap between every single generation, and fall 2022 is indeed that 3-year time period. When you look at the competitive game, it's pretty stale. It's just on Sword and Shield. Nothing has really changed with that, and they're gonna have to release something new to keep competitive alive, because Legends Arceus doesn't have that right now. There's no abilities, there's no held items, there's none of that. So I think there's a few things the franchise can do. What I ultimately expect at this point is a DLC announcement on Pokemon Day, launching at some point over the summer, or maybe in April. And then in April, I think we get our Generation 9 announcement, which will take us to Q4 of 2022. That's my prediction at this point, but I'm sure we'll find out very soon on Pokemon Day. So again, we're kind of going around the ringer right now with the Riddler and everything else going on, but I think all signs point towards some incredible information for Pokemon. DLC seems incredibly likely. What does Mega Evolution have to do with that? What does Looker and Palmer have to do with that? Or is that Gen 9 related? I don't know, but it's very interesting to break down. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Like the video and subscribe if you guys enjoyed it, and that's gonna be that for me, guys. I will see you guys on our next video, and I cannot wait for Pokemon Day because it is gonna be epic. I'll see you guys then. Peace.